everyone. Welcome back to the session of English. In this session, we are going to continue with our chapter pronoun. Now, this is part 2 of this chapter. So, earlier in this chapter, we discussed several types of pronouns. In this session as well, we are going to revise one of the pronouns that we have already discussed, and we are also going to discuss some extra points about that particular pronoun. Also, we are going to discuss several other pronouns. Now, what are the contents that we are going to discuss in this session? Let us go through. So, in this session, we will discuss the following topics. First of all, we'll discuss relative pronoun. Actually, we are going to revise this relative pronoun. This we have already discussed in part 1 of this chapter. After that, we are going to discuss some more points about or some additional points about relative pronouns in this session. Okay, it means in this session, we are going to elaborate this relative pronoun. Okay, after that, we'll discuss distributive pronouns, then reciprocal pronoun, and after that, we'll discuss reflexive and emphasizing pronouns, and after that, we'll discuss indefinite pronouns. Okay, so all these pronouns we are going to discuss in this session. So let's begin the session. First of all, we'll discuss relative pronoun. Now, this you can see that this is from pronoun part 1. Okay, because this is actually the revision that we are going to discuss over here. Okay, so this you can see that this is actually the part of pronoun part 1. Why so? Because in this session, we are going to discuss the same as we had discussed in pronoun part 1. Okay. So let's discuss that what are relative pronouns. Okay, first of all, we'll discuss that what are relative pronouns. As you can see that it is written over here, that is 4. It means this is the part that we had concluded in part 1. So from that part 1 only, we are revising something from part 1. After that, we'll begin with part 2 of this chapter. Okay. Relative pronouns are used to introduce relative clauses. Okay, relative means when something is related to another thing. It means if something is written over here, this is one clause and another clause is this. And when we are relating these two clauses, we use a relative pronoun in between. And this relative pronoun, actually, it relates this clause with the prior clause. Okay, which provide additional information about a noun or pronoun or a noun phrase. About a noun or a noun phrase mentioned earlier in the sentence. It means something which we have already mentioned, and we are referring here an additional point about this thing. So this is actually the relative pronoun, which is adding some additional information about the person, which we have talked about in earlier clause as well. For example, if I say Shubhangi, okay, if I say Shubhangi, who is an intern in this company has left for Mumbai. Okay, has left for Mumbai. It means she went to Mumbai. Okay, so you can see that I'm telling something about Shubhangi, that she's an intern in this company and has left for Mumbai. Okay, so this who, actually Shubhangi is a human being, therefore I'm using word who over here to relate this word with the entire information which is given in the next clause or in the later clause, that is after who. Okay, so this is actually the additional information, and this additional information is about the noun which I have already mentioned in the first clause. Okay, so this you can say the first clause, and this is the second clause. Here you can see that this all this structure is an additional information about the noun which we have mentioned earlier. Okay, so this is additional information, and this is the noun. This is the additional information, and this is the noun which we have mentioned in clause 1. Okay, so this thing which you can see over here, this is a relative pronoun. Okay, so relative pronoun is not anything else, but it only relates the two clauses together. Okay, where the another clause, this later clause, it means the clause which is after relative pronoun, it is actually some additional information about the clause which is before the relative pronoun. Okay, so let us have some types of relative pronouns. As I told you in our earlier session as well, that there are 5 main relative pronouns: who, whom, whose, which, and that. So all these are relative pronouns. Now basically, whenever we talk about who, now what is the actual meaning of who? Who is basically used for living beings. However, this you can define in case of human only. Okay, if we talk about human beings, we use who, but if we talk about animals and plants and trees, though they are also known as living beings, yet we use which with them, not who. Okay, for example, the plant which you gave me. So here the plant which you gave me, I cannot say the plant who you gave me. Now for plant is though plant is a living being or is a living thing, but that is not a human being. That is a thing or an object, or you can say that is actually a plant or a non-human thing. Okay, so whenever we talk about non-human thing, we use which, not who. Okay, so this word which is actually used with either the non-living things, okay, non-living things, or non-human things. So the basic difference between who and which is just of human. For humans, we use who, whereas for non-human things, we use which. Okay, and non-human things can be living as well as living being. Okay, so this is actually the difference between who and which. Actually, not the difference of living and non-living, but it is actually the difference between human and non-human things. Okay. Now, whom is actually an objective case. Who is nominative case, whereas this whom is objective case of who only. Okay. So if we want to write the subject, we will write who, and if we want to write the object, we will write whom. Okay. If we want to write the subject, we will write who, and if we want to write the object, we will write whom. Okay. So this who, this represents the subject part, and if we talk about the object, we will write whom. Now many times it happens that this difference between who and whom plays a vital role in formation of questions. Also in many questions, there are many questions or there are many sentences where we feel that who should come over here or whom should come over here, but that is not actually the point. Basically we use whom not who in, or we use who not whom in several places where it is not, you can say, not feasible. If we read the sentence, we will find it difficult to know or to analyze, to figure out that whether to come who or whom. But there the word there comes who. Okay, not whom. And how did it happen? How does it happen? How can we use these two words? How can we differentiate in using these two words? That I will explain later on. Okay. Now, whose shows the possession of something. Okay. And that is also used like which and who and whom, but this is actually used in some special cases. Okay, so with restrictive clause. Now what is restrictive clause, that we'll discuss later on. Also in some special cases, where another words cannot be used or other words cannot be used. So some special cases, and what are those special cases, that we are going to elaborate later in this session. Okay, so in some special cases. Now let us discuss these relative pronouns one by one. So first we'll discuss something about who. Who is used to refer to people, and it acts as the subject of the relative clause. Okay. Moreover, we can say that it describes humans. Okay. When we talk about human beings, we use who. Okay. For example, the woman who lives next door is a doctor. Okay, so who lives next door? So here we are talking about a woman. Woman is a human or a living being. So here we are using who. Okay, now the person who is shouting. The person who is shouting appears to be in danger. Okay, so here we are talking about a person who looks like that if he were in danger. Okay, so here this person is a human being, so we have used who. Okay, the man who stole the car, the man who stole the car was sent to prison, was sent to prison. Now, if you see the sentence very carefully, you will find that we are talking about the man who stole the car. Now, who stole the car? Stole is a verb, and this verb, this action is done by the man. And of course, the person who does the action or performs the action is known as subject. So, whenever we want to indicate the subject in the sentence, it is represented by the word who. Okay, so here who is indicating a person who is the subject of this sentence, and also the person who is shouting. So who is shouting? The person. So this who is describing this person or is indicating this person, and this is a human being. Moreover, this is the subject of the sentence because he is performing the action. So two things you need to keep in mind while using who. First of all, the person after which you have written who, or whom you have indicated in the sentence with the word who, he should be the subject of the sentence, or that should be the subject of the sentence. Moreover, it should be a human being. Okay, it is not like that is a living being. It should be a human being. Okay, now let us move to the next one. Here we'll talk about another very important word, that is whom. And here I will definitely tell you the difference between the use of who and whom. Okay, whom is also used to refer to people, but it acts as the object of the verb or preposition in a relative clause. Okay, so it acts as the object, not the subject. The woman whom you met is a doctor. Now here, which action is going on? That met. And met is a verb. And who is performing this action? There is you. Okay, so you is actually the subject, or you, this word is actually playing the subject. And you met who? Who you met? You met whom? We met the women. So women is playing the object over here. Okay, it is playing this human, this is playing the role of object over here. Because if we write this sentence in a simple manner, I can say you met the woman, who is a doctor. Okay, you met the woman. So this woman is playing an object over here. And if it is playing the object over here and you are indicating this with a relative pronoun, so it should be whom. Okay, so here the relative pronoun is whom, which is indicating the object, not the subject. Okay, now here we will see that what is actually the difference between whom and who. There is a trick as well. And here I will tell you something about the subject and the object. You will really easily identify in any sentence whether to write who or whom. Okay, in case of interrogative as well as simple sentences. Now let us take some examples of simple sentences. Suppose the sentence is, the thief dash. Now here in this blank we need to write a relative pronoun. What is that? That we will discuss later on. Now the sentence is the thief dash you not you they caught was beaten. Okay, beaten black and blue. Now black and blue is a phrase used for you can say when someone is beaten very harshly. Okay, it means in a very unpity manner. It means where a person is beaten harshly. It means when people, they beat a person, but they do not see they beat the person in a dangerous manner. Okay, that is black and blue. Okay, it means he was harmed harshly. Now another sentence: the man dash broke the window. Okay, broke the window pane was arrested. Okay, was arrested. Now, if you see both the sentences, first of all, let us discuss whether to write who or whom in these two sentences. First of all, if we talk about the thief dash they caught. Now, what is actually the action which is going on? That is caught. Okay. Now, we have to look for that particular verb, that is the verb of active sentence, not the passive voice. Passive voice is actually when after be form, we have verb third form, that is actually known as the passive voice. But we need to see the active part of the sentence. Now, if you see the sentence, this caught is actually the verb, and who is performing this action? Who has performed this action? Caught, that is they. Okay, so they should be the subject. Now, was beaten. Now, was beaten is actually the passive structure of the sentence. Okay, how passive? If we write after be, if we write any third form of be, that is known as passive voice. And here you can see that after was we have the word beaten, which is actually the verb third form. So this part of this part of the sentence is a passive voice, where we need not find passive voice. We should only the thing that matters is the active part of the sentence. So this they caught is actually active voice sentence. So they caught, they is the subject and caught is the verb. Now, they caught. Whom they caught? They caught whom? They caught the thief. So thief is playing an object over here. Now, if you like this if you write the sentence in a simple structure, you would write they caught the thief. Okay, in this manner, obviously we will write this sentence, okay, in a simple manner. So here you can see that the thief, it is the object, okay, whereas they is the subject and caught is the verb. Okay, caught is the verb. So this is actually the simple structure, and you can see that this thief, it is playing like an object over here, or it is playing the role of an object. Now, in such case, if we want to relate the thief, obviously we will write some word which is actually relating to where the relative pronoun is indicated towards the object. So here we'll write whom, and the correct sentence will be the thief whom they caught was beaten black and blue. Okay. Now, if we see another sentence here, the man. Now, the man is the subject. Now, the man is a person, suppose, not the subject. I cannot conclude over here that whether it is subject or not. Now, the man dash broke the window. Now, broke is actually the verb. And who did this work? The man. Okay. And if the man has performed this action, obviously one who performs the action is known as the subject of the sentence. So the man is the subject of the sentence. Okay. Now, if this is the subject, so if we are writing the subject before it and we want to relate it with the another part of the clause, here we'll write who. Why so? Because to relate the subject, we need to write who. So here the correct word should be who. So this who is the relative pronoun. Okay. And broke. What did he break? He break the window. So this window is the object. Okay. And the man is the subject. And here the sentence is written in an active voice, or you can say in the simple structure. Therefore, the man who broke the window pane was arrested. So was arrested is actually the passive part of the sentence, whereas the man until window pane is the active part of the sentence. Okay. So the man who broke the window was arrested. So you can see these two sentences in which one we have filled whom, because it is actually qualifying the it is actually relating the object with the entire clause, with the other clause of the sentence. And here in the second sentence we have written who. Why so? Because the clause which is before who, this who is connecting two clauses. One is the subject, and the subject clause has been connected to the other clause of the sentence by the word who. Okay, so here we'll write who because this is the subject clause. Okay, so whenever we connect an object with the other part of the sentence, that is known as there we use the relative pronoun whom, whereas if we connect subject with the another part of the clause or another clause of the sentence, we will write who as the relative pronoun. Okay, so this is first point that we should keep in mind. So this should always be remembered. Okay, now let me tell you about the second trick. Okay, so this is the second trick which we are talking about right now. Okay, suppose there is a sentence, Ravi is the person. Ravi is the person, or is the boy. Everybody thought had stolen the necklace. Okay. Now this is the sentence. Stolen the necklace. Now let us see another sentence. Okay. Ravi is the boy you know very well. Now these are two sentences. Okay. Now you can see the first part of the sentence, that is Ravi is the boy, and here in the second one also Ravi is the boy. Now what do you think to be filled in these two blanks? First of all, let me see the second sentence. Ravi is the boy dash you know very well. Okay, so we are talking about Ravi, that Ravi is the boy. Okay, now this is one sentence. Now we have another clause of the sentence, that is you know very well. Now which is the verb over here? Obviously know. And you know whom? You know Ravi. So here we should write whom. Okay, because here if you see this one, so this you is the subject, whereas this know is the verb. So I can say you know Ravi very well. Okay, so this should be the simple structure of the sentence. But if you see the above sentence, here we are talking about Ravi is the boy dash everybody thought had stolen the car. No, sorry, stolen the necklace. Now here the word is stolen. This is verb. Now who has performed this action? Who has stolen the necklace? Of course, Ravi. So the subject is Ravi over here. He has performed the action, that is stolen. So if you see the sentence carefully, if you see the second sentence, you would find that you is the subject, no is the verb, and Ravi is playing an object over here. But if we see the above sentence, here this Ravi is the subject. It is playing the subject role. Okay. Now you can say, ma'am, thought is also a verb, but thought is not actually the verb. This is actually a phrase which can be written either before or after the sentence as well. For example, I can say everybody thought Ravi is the boy who had stolen the necklace. Okay, so here we should write who, because it is not actually the verb which we are talking about. The action which is taking place is stolen. Okay, therefore here we need to find who. Here we need to fill who. Why so? Because here Ravi is the boy who had stolen the necklace. Okay, so this everybody thought, this is just excessive part of the sentence. Okay, you can ignore this part. Okay, everybody thought is just the verb of sense. Okay, it is not actually the verb of action. It is not actually the verb of state being. It is just the verb of sensation, which you can put either in the starting of the sentence, in the beginning of the sentence, or at the end of the sentence. I can also write this sentence like everybody thought Ravi is the boy who had stolen the necklace. Or I can also say Ravi is the boy who had stolen the necklace, everybody thought. So this is just a thinking, and thinking is only the sense, that is not a physical verb. Okay, but we are talking about the main verb which is going on over there. And here stolen is actually the verb which is actually the action which is taking place over here, or which has taken place over here. And who has performed this action? Of course, this action of stolen is performed by Ravi, and Ravi is the subject of the sentence. Okay, so if subject comes prior to the relative pronoun, it means if before the relative pronoun we have the subject of the sentence, that means there in this relative pronoun we need to have who structure, and if in the clause which is before the relative pronoun, if it contains the object of the sentence, we should write whom as the relative pronoun. So this is actually the second trick. Okay, now if the sentence is interrogative, I hope you have got this concept. Okay, so this is very, very simple. You should not be confused. Just keep one thing in mind, that where you need to fill a relative pronoun, first of all check whether the whether the noun pronoun written over here and the noun pronoun written over here, if this is the relative, before the relative pronoun, whatever we have the noun pronoun, if it is the subject, fill, or if it is the object, if it is the subject, fill who in this case, Okay, or if it is the object, fill whom in this blank. Okay, so this is how to decide what to fill, whether whom or who. Okay, so this is very, very simple. Just go to the sentences, go through the sentences as many as you can. So it will be very, very easy for all of you to identify whether to fill who or whom by this trick. Okay, now one more concept that we can use and conclude whether to use who or whom. That is, now let us discuss that. Suppose um, suppose you find that suppose you find that there is an interrogative sentence, and the interrogative sentence is like, first of all you have blank. Did you uh, talk with? Okay, talk with. This is the sentence, or this is the interrogative sentence. Another interrogative sentence where you need to find a relative, where you need to fill a relative pronoun, and after this is written, wrote the letter. Okay, now these are the two questions, and we have to fill either who or whom in these two blanks. Now, one thing you should keep in mind, that what can be the possible answer for this question. For example, if I say, did you talk with? It means I'm asking to which person you talk with. Okay, or with which person you talk. Okay, I can say that I talked with my friend. Okay, I can say, or not friend, I can say I talked with him. Okay, I say a possible answer. We are just making the rough answers, which is actually the possible answer for such a question. So I can say I talked with my friend, or I can say I talked with him. Suppose. Okay. Now, what can be the possible answer for this question? Wrote the letter. Okay. So I can say, it means if she asks that the person who wrote the letter, so I can say I wrote the letter. Okay, I wrote the letter. Now, one thing that we should write over here, either who or whom. So out of these two words, we need to fill one in this blank. Okay, whom or who. Now, if I see this particular word, whom or who. Now, did you talk with? So I said I talked with him. Now, the reply to this question, who is replying to this question? That's him, and him is actually the objective case. So here we'll find whom. It means the question will be, whom did you talk with? Okay. In the next, I wrote the letter. Now, who is replying to this question? So I, and I is the subject of this sentence. So here we should write who. So who wrote the letter, or whom did you talk with? Okay. So these two questions can be the correct answers. So first, in the first one, we should write whom, because the question, when we are replying to this, when we are making any possible reply to that question, we get objective case, and when we reply to the when we make any possible reply of the another question, we find that the reply to this question is the subject of the sentence. Okay, so by this trick you can use this trick to find out whether to write who or whom in the sentence. Okay, now let us get back to the slides. Here, the word is whose. Whose is used to indicate the possession and is used to refer to both people and things. The girl whose book was lost found it. So whose shows the possession. Okay. Now, whenever we want to state the possession of a non-living thing, we can write, we should not write whose. Instead, we can write, for example, this is a sentence. Here we have said things, but don't use this with whose with things. For things, we can use of which. Okay, for things we can use of which. For example, the road inauguration of which, the road inauguration of which was done by the PM, or this is the road. Suppose sentences, this is the road. This is the road, the inauguration of which. was done by the PM. Okay, this is the Roj, inauguration of which was done by the PM. So in this manner, we can make this sentence. Okay, now let us move to the next one. Now here we'll discuss the meaning of which, or the use of which is used to refer to things or animals, and it introduces relative clauses that provide additional information about the noun. The book which is on the table is mine. Okay, so which is just indicating this book, or it is giving some additional information about this book. Okay, I can also say the plant which you gave me. The plant which you gave me, is very good, or growing very well. Okay, is growing very well. So here you can say that the plant is a living being, though it is actually the non-human things. So when we talk about non-human things, we can use which. Okay, now let us move to the next one. That can be used to refer to both people and things, and it is used in restrictive relative clauses, essential information to the sentence's meaning. Now, what are restrictive clauses and non-restrictive clauses, that we are going to discuss later on. The car that is parked outside is red. Now, here you can see non-restrictive versus restrictive clauses. That what is the difference between the two? We are going to discuss it again, though we have already discussed this in our earlier session as well. Non-restrictive clauses provide extra information that can be omitted without changing the meaning of the main sentence. It means which is just added, but it is not required. It can be omitted from the sentence as well. That is known as non-restrictive clauses. But restrictive clauses are the clauses where the additional information which we have added cannot be omitted. Now, in case of non-restrictive clauses, we use commas to set off non-restrictive clauses. It means to say that the additional information can be omitted. So we set off that additional information by putting the commas to make sure that this is the additional information which is actually the optional thing in the sentence. For example, if I say, my sister who lives in London is visiting us. So what is important? That my sister is visiting us. So this who lives in London, this is just an additional information about my sister. But the main action to be discussed over here is that my sister is visiting us. So this matters a lot, but who lives in London, that is just an additional information that does not matter. Okay, restrictive clauses provide essential information that is necessary to understand the main sentence. It means here, to understand the main sentence, this additional information is very, very important. It should be written over there. They are not set off by commas. The book that is on the table, it means we are particularly talking about that book which is on the table. If I say the book is mine, then the sentence of the meaning of the sentence is not complete, or you can say the sentence is not accurate. If I say the book that is on the table, it means I'm talking only about that book which is on the table. And here, if I just omit this on the table, that will completely change the meaning of the sentence. Okay. Now, use of that and which, that is used in restrictive clauses, while which is used in non-restrictive clauses. Example, the house that is painted blue. It means I'm particularly talking about that house only which is painted blue is beautiful. So I'm talking about only that house which is painted blue. I'm praising only that particular house. That is why I have used the word that. But if I say the house which is painted blue is beautiful, it means the house which is painted blue, it means I'm praising that particular house which is painted blue. Okay, because maybe possible it is also beautiful and other houses are also beautiful. Okay. So by setting up the comma, we can say that this information is very important. Otherwise, that is painted blue is beautiful. That is just a restrictive clause. Okay. Now, agreement with antecedents. I'm really very sorry. This is agreement with antecedents. Ensure that the relative pronoun agrees with the antecedent in number and gender. Okay. So the verb that we are using and the possessive case that we are using, they should agree with the antecedents. It means the numbers which is before the relative pronoun. Okay. Now, here we'll discuss the use of that. So as I told you that is actually an elaborative part. So here we are going to discuss that where we can use this word that. that is used with words like none. This is very, very important. If you find in any sentence, if you find any of these words like none, all, the same, everything, or any superlative degree of adjective. Now we know well that adjective can be divided into 3 degrees of comparisons. One is positive degree of adjective, then comparative degree of adjective, and then superlative degree of adjective. So whenever you find any superlative degree of adjective in a sentence, you would add that before it. You would add that in that sentence. Okay, it means you will use you should use that as a relative pronoun in that sentence. Interrogative sentences, and if the sentences are interrogative and they begin with question words, if there are interrogative sentences which begins with question words like what, whom, which, who, if you need to put relative pronoun in that as well, you need to put that, not another relative pronoun. Okay, few or little. Now only can also come over here, etc. You can write because there are many such words. Okay, now let us see some examples. So first of all, none, all, everything, few, little. So with the help of these words, we will see some examples. There is none that I trust more than you. So there is none. Here we have word none. So to use relative pronoun, I have used the word that. All that glitters is not gold. So here you can see the word all. And for the relative pronoun, I have used the word that. Everything that you need is in the drawer. So everything that you need, it means that is used in this case because everything is written over here. Okay, but now any indefinite pronoun, but that should be related to thing. Only then you can use that. If it is anyone, you can write which. Okay, few that are chosen possess such talent. So if we write few, a few, the few, we should use that as the relative pronoun. A little that we know about the situation is helpful. So little, it means whatever we knew. However, this little means nothing. Okay, so before to relate this little, we are using that as the relative pronoun. Okay. Superlative degree of adjective, for example, he is the smartest person that I know. So smartest is the superlative degree before which we have used the, and to relate this, we have used that. This is the best cake that I have ever tasted. It was the most exciting trip that I have ever taken. Okay, so here we are using relative pronoun that to relate these two clauses together. Okay, now let us move to the next one. Now interrogative sentences beginning with question words. For example, who is the person that called you? So we are using that, not which. I cannot say who is the person who called you or who is the person which called you. No, that will be incorrect. And the correct sentence will be who is the person that called you. Okay, what is the thing that you want most? Where is the place that we are supposed to meet? So here we have used the word that and not any other relative pronoun. In each of these examples, that introduces a restrictive relative clause providing essential information about the noun or pronoun it follows. It helps specify or identify a particular subset of or items of items or people. Okay. Now we'll discuss distributive pronouns. I hope this much is clear to you all. Now we'll see distributive pronouns. Distributive pronouns emphasize individual members or items rather than the group as a whole. It means distributive, as you can say, which distributes the things or people into various groups. Okay. So here the types of distributive pronouns are each, every, either, neither, none, anyone. Now we cannot say anyone, but we can say any or one. Okay, so we can have more than that. Any and one are the separate parts. Now what happens when we use these words like either, neither, now any of these words? Okay, now let me tell you over here only. Whenever we use these words, what we do after these words, now this word is actually any or one, okay, like this. Any is another word. Now we use any of these words. After this, if we are using the preposition of, we will have plural noun but singular verb. So this should be the structure. Otherwise, what we can do after each of these words, we can use singular noun and singular verb. If we are not using of, we should use singular noun and singular verb. But if we are using of, we should use plural noun and singular form of verb. Okay. Now, each refers to every individual member of a group. It means when we write each shows that each and every other person or every individual. When we are talking about every individual in a group, it means one person, one by one person. It means all the person, but one by one individually. We are using each for it. We use each for it, and it is used with singular nouns. It emphasizes that the action or quality applies separately to each member. For example, each student must complete the assignment. Now, whenever we use the word each, it should be followed by singular noun and singular form of verb. Okay, but whenever we use each with preposition of, it should be followed by plural noun and singular form of verb. Okay. Now, for every also refers to all the individual members of a group, but it is used for both singular and plural nouns. Like each, it emphasizes the individual consideration on each number. Every student in the class passed the exam. Okay. Now let us move to the next one. Here, use of either typically involves a choice between two options. Now, either is basically used only for two people, where from two we use it for one. Okay, when we have two options, but we select one of them, we use the word either. So this word either and neither, these two words can be only used for two people, whereas any, one or none, they can be used for more than two. Okay, it is used as a determiner pronoun or an adverb. As a determiner or pronoun, either book will do. So here either, just after either we have singular noun. Okay, either book will do means we have two books and one of them will work. Okay, there are two books and you can choose either of them, either one of them. I can't decide between the red shirt and the blue shirt. I like either because you like either of the two shirts. Okay. As an adverb, you can choose either of the two paths. You have two choices. Either is used when presenting a choice between two options. It is typically followed by or when used as a determiner or pronoun or conjunction. For example, either or. We can say either you or he is culprit. Okay, so we can use either you or he. So that is in case of conjunction. Okay, in case of conjunction, we use either and or as the pair. Okay, conjunction. Okay. Neither is also used in situations of choices, but it indicates that none of the options is chosen. It means you have two options and you want none of them. It is also used only in case of two options. Okay, when you have two options but you want nothing. Okay, or you don't want any of these options. So it is used as a determiner pronoun or adverb. As a determiner or pronoun, neither book is suitable. So after neither, just after neither, we have book. So this neither is an adjective over here. Both books are not suitable. I don't like either of the ice cream flavors. Neither appeals to me. So both flavors are not appealing. As an adverb, neither of them called me back. None of the two people called back. Grammatical rule, neither is used when rejecting both options in a choice. It is often followed by nor when used as a determiner or pronoun. But you can say when neither and nor pair is used, that is a conjunction, not pronoun. Okay, that is a conjunction move. Okay. Now let us move to the next one. None. None means not any or no one. Now when we talk about more than two people or more than two things and we want to negate all, it means we don't want anything. So there we can use none. None and neither are the same, but none is used for more than two, whereas neither is used only for two people. Okay. It is used to indicate that the absence of something or absence of anyone or anything. Okay. As a pronoun, none of the books were interesting. It means no book was interesting. So here within none, with the word none, we can also use, if none is followed by the preposition of, it can be followed by plural noun singular verb as well as plural noun plural verb. So both the factors are correct in the case of none. As a determiner, none of the students passed the exam. So no students passed the exam. Grammatical rule, none is used to indicate the absence of something. It is followed by of when used as a determiner or pronoun. Anyone is a pronoun used to refer to any person or any individual. Is anyone there? Is there any person there? Or anyone is used when referring to an unspecified person or individual. Now, singular agreement, both each and every are used with singular verbs, even when they refer to multiple individual members. Every student attends the class. Okay, so we cannot say every student attend. Every should always be followed by singular noun and singular verb. Okay, but if we have off after in each or every, we can have a plural noun but singular verb. Okay. Distinction between each and every. Each emphasizes individuality and suggests a separate action or quality for each member, whereas every is more general and emphasizes the collective idea of all the members. Each student receives a book. Each student gets a separate book. Every student receives a book. All students get the same book. Distributive use. Distributive pronouns are used to distribute or allocate things or actions among members of a group. The teacher gave each student a prize. Okay. Now, indefinite pronouns. Now we'll discuss indefinite pronouns. Distributive pronouns are different from indefinite pronouns, which refer to unspecified people or things as a whole. It means this is actually the difference between distributive pronoun and indefinite pronoun. Example, each of them received a gift. This is distributive pronoun. Some of them received a gift, that is indefinite pronoun. Now, reciprocal pronouns. Reciprocal pronouns are used to express mutual action or relationship between two or more individuals or things. These pronouns indicate that the action is reciprocated or shared between these subjects. The main reciprocal pronoun in English is each other and one another. Each other is only used for two people, and when we talk about more than two people, we use one another. This is the basic difference between each other and one another. Each other is used when the action is mutually directed between two individuals or things. It is typically used with plural subjects. John and Mary love each other. Okay, the love is reciprocated between John and Mary. So there are only two persons, we can use each other. But one another is another form of reciprocal pronoun that is used in the same way as each other. It is also used with plural subjects, but it is used for more than two. Okay, it is used for more than two. Now this is very, very important. Okay, used for more than two. This is the basic difference between each other and one another. Okay, so when we are talking about more than two, we use one another. The team members support one another. The support is reciprocated among the team members. Okay, obviously if there are team members, there must be more than two. Therefore, we have used one another, not each other. Okay, but when we use the word both, obviously both represents two. Therefore, we will use each other, not one another in that case. Now, agreement with plural subjects. Reciprocal pronouns like each other and one another are used with plural subjects. The friends help each other. Now, friends are plural subject. Now, here we can analyze that these friends are only two. We can also use one another in the same sentence. Why so? Because here the number of friends is not defined. So, we can use here in this sentence each other as well as one another. However, because they can be either two or more than two, and in both the cases they are more than two, therefore we should use plural verb only. Now, mutual action or relationship. Reciprocal pronouns indicate the action or relationship is reciprocated between these subjects. The two sisters often talk to each other. The talking is mutual between the two sisters. It means the action is actually reciprocated between the two. It means one has the reverse reaction of another thing. Okay, so both the persons will involve in the same action. Now we'll discuss reflexive and emphasizing pronouns. Reflexive and emphasizing pronouns. In this, reflexive pronouns are a type of pronoun used when the subject and the object of a sentence are the same person or thing. Okay, they are used to reflect the action back onto the subject. Reflexive pronouns end in self word for singular and self for plural. For example, singular reflexive pronouns are myself, yourself, himself, herself, itself, whereas plural reflexive pronouns are ourselves, yourselves, themselves. Okay. Examples, I hurt myself while playing. The subject I and the object myself refer to the same person. It means this myself is same as I. Okay, so here I said I hurt myself. It means when the person hurts himself, or when the verb is repeated on the subject only. Okay, is done for the subject only. It means when the action that takes place for the subject only. though object is the receiver of the action, but here the object is equal to the subject. Okay, so here we use the reflexive pronoun. Okay, he praised himself in front of the mirror. So himself and he both are the same person. So therefore we are using himself or the reflexive pronoun. Now, what are emphasizing pronouns? Emphasizing pronouns, also known as intensive pronouns, are used to add emphasis or intensify the subject of the sentence. Emphasizing pronouns can never stand alone as subjects. They also end in self for singular and self for plural, like reflexive pronouns. Singular emphasizing pronouns: myself, yourself, himself, herself, itself. Plural emphasizing ourselves, yourselves, or themselves. For example, I myself saw the accident. Now, if you see this I, after this I have written myself. So this is reflexive pronoun which is used for this I. Okay, so I myself saw the accident. You can also say that whenever we write reflexive pronoun just after the subject. Okay, just after the subject, it is known as emphasizing reflexive pronoun. But if we have a structure that first we have subject, then we have verb, and then we have reflexive pronoun. If this is the structure, it is known as emphatic reflexive pronoun. It means simple sentences of reflexive pronoun are emphatic, whereas these type of sentences are emphasizing, because it is intensifying, or you can say it is actually making the subject strong, that he himself saw the accident happen. Okay, it means he is the same person. For example, if I say I myself did this work, it means this work, I'm giving the proof that I myself did this work. It means this is something which I'm saying with a strong effect, you can say strong evidence. Okay, they themselves completed the entire project. Okay, so here when we write the subject, after that we write the reflexive pronoun which emphasizes this word subject. So this is known as emphasizing reflexive pronoun. Okay, and emphatic is when we write subject plus verb plus reflexive pronoun. Okay. Now, reflexive and emphasizing pronouns. Reflexive pronouns as objects. Reflexive pronouns are used as objects of the sentence when the action is performed by and on the same person or thing. Example, she cut herself while cooking. So she cut herself, it means this herself is used for she, but it is used after verb. Therefore, this is just a reflexive pronoun, or you can say emphatic reflexive pronoun. The action of cutting was performed by and on the same person. Okay, it means the person who is doing the action is receiving the action as well. Okay, if we are using reflexive pronoun for that. Emphasizing pronouns for emphasis. Emphasizing pronouns are used to add emphasis or intensify the subject, but they are not essential to the sentence's meaning. I myself will handle the situation. Okay, or I can say I will handle the situation. Okay, but I cannot say myself will handle the situation. We cannot begin the sentence using reflexive pronoun. Okay. Reflexive and emphasizing pronouns, again, placement of pronouns. Reflexive and emphasizing pronouns are placed immediately after the subject or used as objects of verbs, prepositions. Example, the children enjoyed themselves at the party. Reflexive pronoun used as the object of the verb enjoyed. He spoke to himself in the mirror. Okay, reflexive pronoun used as the object of the preposition to. I myself will complete the task. Here, emphasizing pronoun placed after the subject I. Okay, so as I told you, the structure or the position of these two types of pronouns, two types of reflexive pronouns, that if it is used after the verb, it is simple reflexive or emphatic reflexive pronoun. But if it is used just after the subject, it is known as emphasizing reflexive pronoun. Now we'll discuss omissions of reflexive pronoun, and also we'll discuss indefinite pronouns. Okay, as I told you in the beginning of the chapter that we will be discussing indefinite pronouns as well, but now this part and the omission of this part. Okay, omission of reflexive pronoun and indefinite pronouns. These two pronouns we will discuss in the next session. Okay, so till now I will end this session now, and these two parts again we will be discussing in the next session, because there I need many examples to tell you about these two types of pronouns. Okay, I hope you find this session beneficial for all of you. And now I'm ending this session. So if you want to learn some more concepts about these two types of pronoun or many sessions to come, be connected with me. Till then, thanks to you.